So, a very good morning to all of you and a warm welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. This is a platform where we meet every day in the morning and we discuss different types of passages taken from different sources, and we hope to improve your reading skills. We hope to improve your overall RC skills. And the method that we pick up is very simple. We focus on number one, trying to understand the structure of the passage. How do we understand the structure? It's almost like, as I keep on telling you, after watching a movie, we remember the rough storyline. So I try to always remember the rough storyline of the passage. After that, when it comes to answering the question, we follow two things. Number one, we try to eliminate answer options which are clearly wrong. When I say clearly wrong, I also mean something which has 1% element of being wrong. If I have an answer option in which a word is wrong, it cannot be correct. Right? For something to be correct, it will have to be 100% correct. First principle. Second thing about answering questions is, if I'm not very sure whether I can recall this point or not, I have all the freedom to go back to the passage and refer. But referring to the passage does not mean you start reading from the beginning again. Does not mean that. You start reading the whole passage again. Does not mean that. Referring to the passage basically means you go back to the part which is relevant, take a quick look, probably 20-30 seconds, come back to the question and answer the question. So that is what we have been practicing so far. Today also we will do the same thing, and today I have picked an article. In fact, it's a question taken from one of the actual exams, but it is also an article taken from a newspaper, right? So I hope everybody is ready, all good to go, I think, right? Can everybody quickly give me a confirmation, a quick confirmation of how the video and the audio is like? Everything is fine, I hope. All clear, I think. So very good morning to all of you. Himanshu, Pinky, Payal, three of you I can see at least, right? Others are also there, but probably quiet or silent in the background. Anyway, right. So, as usual, I will begin by showing you the YouTube schedule, right? This is something which all of you know about. All these lectures which are lined up, right? They definitely help you in preparing for the exam as the exam draws closer. Many of you might be feeling anxiety, many of you might be feeling a little bit of a pressure, right? So, do not worry about it. We are there to help you out. You will definitely receive a lot of instructions, a lot of knowledge, a lot of points in all of these sessions, right? Okay. So shall we begin? As I was telling you, right? So far, let me just repeat the 3 points which I told you. Number one, while reading the passage, we should understand the basic storyline. Structure लगभग समझ के चलो. This is different from memorizing. Memorize नहीं करना है. Structure जो है उसको समझ के चलो. Number one. Number two, while answering the questions, दो चीजों का ध्यान रखो. Answering questions are number one, eliminate options which are wrong. Even if there is one element that is wrong in an option, it cannot be correct. Right. Second principle while answering questions is, if you forget, if you are confused कि answer क्या होना चाहिए exactly, you should refer to the relevant part, not the whole passage, relevant part. Now you might ask me, relevant part क्या है, मुझे कैसे पता चलेगा? The answer is very simple. You have read the passage, so you should know what is the relevant part. So today's passage, we will see something like this. ठीक है? All good to go, I hope. Yes. चलो, let's begin. So this is the article that I was talking about, and you can see the source. ये, this is something which is like, this is like, ये source जो है, this is in fact is unlikely to be right. लगभग इससे काफी similar है anyway, right? So as in you can actually think of, it's like a rough जो source है, that is basically what is the case. एक काम करते हैं, let's read the passage and see. Right. So let's see. I heartily accept the motto. What is a motto, everybody? Right, read it for some time. I heartily accept the motto. Let's see. Everybody is reading it, I hope. Right. So Raj, correct. Motto is like an aim, right? Or a certain principle that people follow or people aim to follow, right? So the motto of a company, a motto of an organization, in short, it is what moves it, right? The root of this word is what you find in the word motion, something that moves you. Okay, moves you in the sense moves you ahead. So motto is what you follow, a principle that you follow. It could be a purpose. It's basically a principle that you hope to follow or you try to stick to, right? Okay, so the government, that government is best which governs least, and I should like to see it acted up to more rapidly and systematically. So what is the author saying? The author is saying, okay, that government is best which governs the least, and he would like to see this acted on. That means he would want to see this to be fulfilled. That government is best which governs the least, मतलब government interfere ज़्यादा नहीं करना चाहिए, and carried out it finally amounts to this, मतलब if you follow this principle it means government को govern ही नहीं करना चाहिए, in the sense that the government should be there but the government should not interfere, ठीक है, and when, which I also believe, and when men are prepared for it, this will be the kind of government which they will have. So he's saying that abhi probably situations are not right, but when people are prepared, people will have this kind of government. ठीक है, all clear, I hope everybody. Right. Now, what is this line that he says here? Government is at best but an expedient. What is an expedient? An expedient, if I use it as a noun, is something that is necessary, something that is required to meet a certain objective. But it is just a necessary thing. It's like something which is just required. That is it, right? It may not be good or bad. So suppose if I say, right, it's a political, for a person, for a politician, it is a political expedient to always stay in the limelight. मतलब required है, अच्छा बुरा पता नहीं, लेकिन it is something which is required. So that's an expedient. So in short, what the author is saying is that the government is at best an expedient, मतलब something which you need to, for us, you need it for a certain purpose, nothing more than that, right? Then look at the line, but most government are usually, and all governments are sometimes inexpedient. Here he is telling us that एक पर्पस के लिए चाहिए गवर्नमेंट, राइट, एंड वही पर्पस सर्व नहीं करते. सो दैट इज व्हाट द ऑथर इज टेलिंग अस. एवरीबॉडी इज रेड, आई होप all clear, I think, right? So the government, what is the author's opinion? I have changed the slide, but let's just recall what is the author's opinion. Government का जो काम है, it should be simply there to, it should be, the government is an expedient in the sense that it's a requirement to achieve a certain purpose. They should not interfere. The government should not govern. ठीक है, govern in the sense interfere नहीं करना चाहिए. ठीक है, so that is what is the author's opinion. Second slide, I'll give you 30 seconds. After this, we will quickly discuss it. Very few people are asking queries. I hope all of you are clear. Pinky, inexpedient is the opposite of expedient. So if I say something that is expedient, that means it is useful or helpful for a certain purpose. Inexpedient means जिस पर्पस के लिए है उस वो सर्व नहीं करता. ठीक है, दैट इज एन एक्सपीडियंट. ठीक है, एक्सपीडियंट का ऑपोजिट है. How do I use the word expedient? I hope everybody is clear. If I say I thought it expedient to do something, matlab I thought it suitable, right? I thought it convenient. I thought it the best to do that in that particular situation. So, in short, an expedient is something which seems to be the right way out. It will serve a certain purpose. Right. Now, let's see. I hope everybody has read it. The objection which have been brought against a standing army. What is a standing army? An army, standing basically means it is there, existent, right? Standing army basically means the army is always there. It is there, in the sense that whenever you require, you will use it. So that is what we mean by a standing army. Standing army means functioning army. He's saying that there are many objections, right, against a standing army, and weighty also. What do you mean by weighty? Weighty here basically means they are logical, carrying weight in terms of logic. Okay, so the author is of the opinion that there are many arguments, objections against the army, right? Against having an army. Army hona chahiye, nahi hona chahiye. So a lot of people say that he's telling you that there are many objections against having an army, and many of these objections are weighty, matlab logical, and deserve to prevail. What do you mean by this? Deserve to prevail. Deserve to prevail. In short, author के हिसाब से the objection against having a standing army should prevail. Prevail means people should follow it. It should be what everybody should observe. So if I say this truth shall prevail, that means it will be followed all across the world. So he's saying that the objections that people have, that standing army nahi hona chahiye, follow karna chahiye. That is the author's opinion. Okay. And he's saying the same objections that people have against the standing army can also be brought against the standing government. Okay. The standing army is only an arm of the standing government. Okay. The government itself, which is only the mode which the people have chosen to execute the will, is equally liable to be abused and perverted before the people can act through it. Are you getting this point? He is saying, देखो, the army is the arm of the government, right? And the government is the arm of the people. Now he is telling you, liable here means likely, perverted here means to be corrupted, to be distorted, right? खराब कर देना, ठीक है? He is telling us that government जैसे खराब हो सकता है, right? Before the people can act, उसी तरह the army can also become खराब before the government can act. ठीक है? Getting the point? पायल prevail का मतलब क्या होता है? To be followed everywhere, everybody follows the principle. So if I say the truth must prevail, मतलब truth जो है everybody should follow it. It should be followed everywhere throughout the world. So if I say something prevails, that means it is followed all across the world. So the objection should prevail is what they say. ठीक है? Everybody is read it, I hope. All clear? सबने पढ़ लिया? I hope everybody has read it. Right. Okay. Shall we go ahead? Right. Shall we look at the next slide? Right. Let's see. Aniket, last line क्या है? Last line. The last line what he is telling you in the previous paragraph. Okay. एक मिनट. Last two lines is for the government. Look at the sentence. Sentence का structure समझ के चलो. The government itself is, देखो, the government itself is equally liable to be abused and perverted before the people can act. ठीक है? So he's telling you that एक मिनट के लिए the government which is only the mode to execute their will. इसको ये एक adjective है, इसको एक मिनट निकाल के देखो. The government itself is equally liable in the sense that the government can be corrupted. Though the government represents the people, the government can be corrupted very easily before the people can act. So इसी तरह he is saying the army can also be corrupted very easily before the government can act. Right, that is his opinion. ठीक है? Right. Who is liable? Who is liable? What is the subject? कृष्णकांत सब्जेक्ट क्या है? द गवर्नमेंट इटसेल्फ इज इक्वली लायबल. यहां जो मैंने ब्रैकेट में डाल रखा है वो दूसरा क्लॉज है. सेंटेंस का स्ट्रक्चर समझना बहुत जरूरी है. ये सब्जेक्ट है द गवर्नमेंट इटसेल्फ. इसका वर्ब कहाँ है? ये रहा. सो लायबल कौन है? गवर्नमेंट, नॉट द पीपल. ठीक है? क्लियर? सो दिस इज व्हाट एवरीबडी नीड्स टू अंडरस्टैंड. व्हेन यू रीड द सेंटेंस व्हिच इज लॉन्गर, यू नीड टू बी, you need to understand the structure. Clear है? ठीक है. Right, I'm changing the slide. So Even in this sentence, you have the first sentence in this slide. The first sentence is very long. Look at all the clauses carefully, otherwise you will not be able to make sense of it. This line is very, very complicated. I hope everybody will understand. This will be very complicated. Let's see. I hope everybody understands it. Let's see. Read पढ़ के देखो. He is telling us, in short, if you have read it, let me explain. He is telling us that when the power is in the hands of the people, why is the majority allowed to rule and rule for a long time? It is not because the majority is right, it is not because they are fair, but because they are physically the strongest. So, according to the author, right, majority rules in a government, in a country. It is not because they are right, it is not because they are fair, it is simply because they are the strongest. So, in a way, he is criticizing this whole system. Everybody understood this line, I hope. This is just one sentence. Okay? It is one sentence, it is long, but you have to, divide the sentence into parts. Okay? Everybody has read it, I hope. No queries from anybody. सब clear है, I hope. Okay. Next line पढ़ते हैं. But the government in which the majority rules in all cases cannot be based on justice. So, in fact, this is what happens in the real world. Majority rules not because they are fair or not because they are right. It is because they are the strongest. This is what happens, and the author does not seem to agree with it. So, what is his solution? According to the author, a government in which the majority rules cannot be based on justice, even as far as men understand it. Can there not be a government in which the majorities do not virtually decide right or wrong, but conscience? So, the author is saying government अगर हो तो it should be the right and wrong should not be decided by the majority but by your conscience. What is your conscience? Conscience is nothing else but the inner voice inside you which tells you what is right or wrong. So in short, he is telling us that now the government is based on majority and the majority rules because they are the strongest, not because they are good or not because they are fair, not because they are right. He is saying instead the government, the decision should be taken not on the basis of majority or minority, but on the basis of conscience. सब समझ में आ रहा है? I hope all clear. Okay. Next sentence in which okay, so this is where in this government majorities decide only those questions to which the rule of expediency is applicable. So expediency means जितना जरूरत हो उतना ही, right? So he is saying in this government things should be decided by the conscience, right? Things should not be decided by majority जितना decide करते हैं they should decide only the basic requirements. Expediency मतलब जो जरूरत है, जो suitable है, जो appropriate है वही decide करे. Otherwise majority decision, most of the decisions should be taken by the conscience. Everybody understood this, I hope. All clear? Right. Shall we change the slide? Expediency का मतलब सबको समझ में आया. So if I say I thought it expedient to do something, मतलब उस वक्त के लिए suitable या required, right? It may not be good or bad. ठीक है? Everybody understood? No questions, no queries whatsoever. I hope it is all clear. Okay. Last slide. This paragraph is a little bit controversial, but try to understand what the author wants to say. Controversial तब होगा when you misunderstand what the author is saying. So, in short, he is telling you previous line में previous paragraph में क्या था? Decisions should be taken by conscience, right? The inner voice inside you which tells you what is right or wrong, right? So that is what was his point. ठीक है? Read it carefully, then we can discuss. What does he mean to say here? Must the citizen ever for a moment or in the least degree resign his conscience to legislature? Who's a legislator? A legislator is a person who makes laws, in short, the elected people. So he's saying, why should a citizen resign his conscience? Matlab, to completely surrender his conscience to the legislator. Right. So he says conscience to sabke paas hai, so why should you surrender it to the people who make the laws? I think we should be men first and subjects afterwards. Yes, this is what he's telling you. First, we should be men, we should be human beings first, then afterwards subjects bano ya citizens, wo baat ki baat hai. Right. It is not desirable to cultivate the respect for the law so much as for the right. So he is saying respect law का होना चाहिए, लेकिन उससे ज़्यादा respect for what is right होना चाहिए. So that is what he is telling you. He is therefore, in short, he is implying that just because law है तो follow नहीं करना चाहिए. Law तो वैसे बहुत सारे हैं which might be wrong in many countries. Right. So he is saying we should follow what is right. Right, not because it is just the law, but we should follow it because the conscience tells us what is right. ठीक है, सबको समझ में आ रहा है? I hope so. The author is in fact giving more emphasis on morality, conscience, what is right and wrong, rather than blindly following the law, rather than blindly supporting the government, rather than blindly supporting the law. Right. The next line देखो, the only obligation which I have a right to assume is to do at any time which I think right. Yes. So what is right is what you should follow. What you think according to your conscience is right is what you should follow. Right. Then the next sentences that proceed from here, they are of a different sense altogether. Different in the sense, not opposite, but in a slightly parallel direction. Right. So a corporation has no conscience, but a corporation of conscientious men is a corporation with a conscience. What does he mean by this line? What is a corporation? Corporation is a group, a council, a group of people, right, acting, an organization. So he says that an organization does not have a conscience, but the people who are in the organization, if they have a conscience, they will have conscience. So in short, he is hinting that गवर्नमेंट में कॉन्शियंस वाले लोग होने चाहिए. ठीक है, लास्ट सेंटेंस देखो, लॉ नेवर मेड मेन अ विट मीन्स अ लिटिल बिट. लॉ नेवर मेड मेन अ विट मोर जस्ट, and by means of the respect for it, even the well disposed are daily made the agents of injustice. What does this line mean? It means law say human beings are not made just, basically means fair. Law does not make human beings fair to a great extent, right? In fact, the law can be misused to make people become agents of injustice. ठीक है, right? Are you getting this line? The last line is telling us that सिर्फ law जो है without conscience does not work, because law से आपको justice हमेशा नहीं मिलता. law follow करके बहुत लोग injustice करते हैं. So that is what is telling. ठीक है, right? So in the fifth line, why there is no is between think and right? Where in the fifth line? Where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's nothing wrong. Do at any time what I think right. So it is acceptable. Kanhaiya, that's perfectly fine. I think right. So even if it is omitted, what I think is right. If you say what I think right is also perfectly fine. ठीक है, ये थोड़ा सा language इसमें लिखा हुआ. Okay. Karthik, wit basically means a small bit, right? So I hope all of you understood this last line. Last line में वे क्या कहना चाह रहा है? देखो, law से human beings को justice बहुत कम बनाया है, right? इनफैक्ट कई बार लॉ फॉलो करके ह्यूमन बीइंग्स इनजस्टिस करते हैं। गेटिंग द पॉइंट? सो इन शॉर्ट हिज आइडिया इज दैट सिर्फ लॉ से काम नहीं चलेगा, कॉन्शियंस होना चाहिए उस लॉ में। ये बात में पॉइंट भी है, बिकॉज लॉ तो ईरान में भी होता है, पाकिस्तान में भी होता है, राइट? लॉ तो आईसिस भी बनाते हैं, लॉ तो तालिबान भी बनाते हैं, राइट? सो एवरी लॉ शुड नॉट बी फॉलोड सिंपली बिकॉज इट इज द लॉ। कॉन्शियंस होना चाहिए, सही गलत होना चाहिए। समझ में आ रहा है? एवरीबॉडी इज गेटिंग द पॉइंट? ऑल अंडरस्टूड आई होप? Yes? Okay. Shall we look at the questions then? There are 3 questions after this. Let's see how it works out. ठीक है. According to the author of the paragraph, army is. So what does the author say about the army? Right. So what does the author say about the army? For this, I'll show you the part of the passage which is relevant. Right. For a minute, पढ़ के देखो, and it is not easy. I'll tell you, but it's not easy. फिर भी, this is the part where he mentions the army. Up to here. ठीक है. What is the author's opinion of the army? पढ़ के देखो, what does he say about the army? अश्विनी, disposed का मतलब होता है I am disposed to something. That means you become inclined, you become closer to something. ठीक है. Everybody has read this. What does the author say about the army? The objection which has been brought against a standing army, there are many, and there are, so he's saying objections बहुत है, and the objections should prevail also. ठीक है. So what is the answer, everybody? Rashmi says it is E. According to the author of the paragraph, the army is, okay, सबसे पहले required तो होना ही नहीं चाहिए. ठीक है. Required तो होना ही नहीं चाहिए. Does it mean that it is not required? और भी options है. What does the author say? There are many objections against the army, and the objections are weighty, मतलब logical, and they should prevail. Should prevail मतलब the objections should be followed. That means क्या होना चाहिए? What Rashmi and Raj are saying is correct. Army होना नहीं चाहिए author के हिसाब से. Everybody understood that argument? What does he say? That आर्मी के खिलाफ बहुत ऑब्जेक्शंस है. द ऑब्जेक्शंस आर वेटी, दे आर लॉजिकल, एंड दे शुड प्रिवेल. द ऑब्जेक्शंस अगेंस्ट द आर्मी शुड प्रिवेल. दैट मीन्स ऑब्जेक्शंस सही है. दैट मीन्स स्टैंडिंग आर्मी नहीं होना चाहिए. ठीक है. राइट. मेनी ऑफ यू आर सेइंग बी. बी मतलब फॉलिबल. फॉलिबल मीन्स लायबल टू मेक मिस्टेक्स. राइट. सो लाइकली टू मेक मिस्टेक्स. ये वेयर डू यू फाइंड इट? Where do you find it? I just showed you the line, right? Is the fallible means likely to make mistakes. Think of it as something which is derived from the word fallacy. Fallacy is a flaw or a mistake. Suppose if I say there is a fallacy in your argument, that means there is a flaw, there is a mistake in your argument. So B कहाँ से मिला आपको? The army is likely to make mistakes. Does the author say this? To take you back to that passage again, दोबारा देखो, which I just showed you. The objection which have been brought against a standing army, and there are many and weighty. ये दे क्या है? Objection, right? यहाँ S missing है. The objections which have been, right, have है तो S missing है. The objections which have been brought against a standing army, and they are many and weighty and deserve to prevail. मतलब क्या है? Objections बहुत है, logical है, and the objections deserve to prevail. मतलब क्या है? बहुत लोग कहते हैं कि आर्मी नहीं होना चाहिए, इनकी बातों में दम है. What does it mean? It means आर्मी नहीं होना चाहिए ऑथर के हिसाब से. Getting the point? ठीक है. अंडरस्टूड एवरीबडी? राइट. सो आर्मी इज फॉलिबल, इनफॉलिबल ये तो मेंशन भी नहीं है. नेसेसरी इविल, वेयर डज ही से दैट ही इज नेसेसरी? एवरीबडी अंडरस्टूड दिस? राइट. सो वी आर आंसरिंग अकॉर्डिंग टू द ऑथर. एवरीबडी गॉट दिस पॉइंट, आई होप? यस. राइट. सो मेनी ऑफ यू गॉट इट करेक्ट, मेनी ऑफ यू डिड नॉट गेट इट करेक्ट. एनीवे, ठीक है. अंडरस्टूड. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखते हैं. आई विल शो यू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. In general, when would government of majority be good for minorities? इसका आंसर जो है, I expect everybody to get it correct because we discussed quite a lot on this. Government अच्छा कब होना चाहिए? When it abides by the law, या when it abides by, okay. So everybody is saying when it is conscientious. Yes, if you say that D, right? Siddharth, Yash, Himanshu, Rashmi, Mrunal, Gokul, Kanhaiya, Pinky, right? So Raj also, Mahima, Amandeep, everybody is saying answer is D, correct. Remember, we focused quite a lot on this. He is saying सिर्फ लॉ होगा तो सही नहीं है, यू शुड एक्चुअली फॉलो योर कॉन्शियंस. सो व्हेन इट अबाइड्स बाय द लॉ, सिर्फ लॉ से नहीं काम चलेगा. लॉ तो एज आई गिव यू एन एग्जांपल, तालिबान भी लॉ बनाते हैं, राइट? सो इट शुड बी बेस्ड ऑन द कॉन्शियंस. ठीक है, राइट? सो व्हेन इट इज फेयर एंड व्हेन इट इज राइट, राइट, ये तो कॉन्शियंटियस. व्हेन इट इज कॉन्शियंटियस इट विल नेचुरली फेयर और राइट अपने आप हो जाएगा. ठीक है, so why not A and B? Because A and B would be a result of conscientious. So when you follow the conscience, everything would be good. So everybody got this correct. I think Aniket and Rishikesh also got it. Everybody is clear with this? Yes. ठीक है, right. चलो, last question for the day is this. Which of the following would the author agree the most with? This is a tricky question. Karthik, which one would you want me to repeat? Karthik, क्या कहना चाहते हो? What, which one, which point? एक तो your queries are reaching me very late. Which point do you want me to repeat? In the meantime, others can answer this, right? देखो, अकॉर्डिंग टू द ऑथर, लॉ, सिर्फ लॉ फॉलो करेंगे तो शायद अच्छा ना हो, राइट? एंड ही सेइंग गवर्नमेंट्स जो है शुड बी कॉन्शियंटियस, एवरीथिंग शुड बी डिसाइड बाय द कॉन्शियंस. ठीक है, सो कॉन्शियंस जो है इज व्हाट वी शुड लुक एट. कन्हैया राम इज सेइंग, एवरीबॉडी सेइंग ए. नाउ व्हाई नॉट सी? आर्मीज आर नॉट रिक्वायर्ड. Why not C? What is the problem? Which armies are not required? तो आंसर भी था अभी. Governments, so governments and armies are not required. Why not C? Everybody is saying A. अच्छा, just read that line, the line which I just told you. The objection, read this, read up to here. The objection against a standing army, and there are many and weighty deserve to prevail, may also at last be brought against a standing government. So why not C? So it's a toss up. So many people are, many people are deciding. So the objection that have been brought against a standing army, and there are many and weighty deserve to prevail, may also be brought against a standing government. So अभी थोड़ी देर पहले we just marked, okay, answer A का क्या था? Army is not required. ठीक है, so in the last question, what is the problem with C? This part I agree with. Armies are not required. ठीक है, right? Okay. Himanshu, government is expedient. Yes, Aniket, very good argument. The government is expedient. Government के लिए तो कुछ purpose है. So government not required is something which we do not know, right? And even in the part which I just showed you, I will tell you. Just look at this. देखो, objection against the army, right? He is saying that objection against the army is logical and they are correct. He is not saying that the same objection, he is not telling you that what is saying, the same objections may also at last be brought against the standing government. That means ये भी use किया जा सकता है, but not always in the same effect as the army. तो army के खिलाफ तो होना नहीं चाहिए, ठीक है, but he's saying the same argument may also after some time may also be used against a standing government. But it does not mean that the government is not required. So in a way he tells you the government in which the minority do not decide, the government should be an expedient. ठीक है, so government is, yes, everybody is clear, so correct, right? So the best answer to this question is not C, it is A. Men are bigger than the government. So that is what he's trying to tell you throughout, that राइट एंड रॉन्ग कॉन्शियंस से होना चाहिए, गवर्नमेंट सिर्फ लॉ के हिसाब से नहीं, ठीक है। एवरीबडी इज क्लियर, सो द बेस्ट आंसर इज ए, एवरीबडी इज करेक्ट, गुड, राइट। नाउ what is the problem would be business houses are the best for the growth. He does not say this anywhere. He only mentions the word corporation. Corporation means an organization, does not mean business house. Conception of nation is redundant, ये भी वो कहीं नहीं कहता. Democracy is the best for citizens. Not just democracy, democracy where people follow conscience. ठीक है, right? So with that we come to the end of the passage. Everybody understood, I hope, right? And before I end, let me quickly tell you about the things that you probably already know. Nowadays, all the free lectures that you require to prepare for MBA entrance exams will be found in one place, and you can definitely make the most of it. And these are the online classroom program, the courses that are available here, right? And there is this course, batch 4, right? There is this course which prepares you for SNAP, NMAT, CMAT, and DISNET 2022. So that is what we can think of. And these are the teachers who take your classes, and you all know them. And online classroom program of BYJU'S Exam Prep targets two specific, timelines, in the sense that you can prepare for 2021, or you can even take longer, 2022. Right. So depends on your level, depends on what kind of requirement you need. So that is why. Okay, right. So with that, we come to the end of the session. I will meet you on Wednesday. Tomorrow there will be no classes. So I'll meet you again on Wednesday. Right. So till Wednesday, have a nice day. See you everybody.